It's like, this is a story of God choosing a Jew to be his NBA player.
If you give your slave a wife, is that a children's book? If you give your slave a wife, by the way, Pope Robert, what's his name? Post Malone?
I have no idea.
It's Robert something, but he's going by Leo
Chicago.
XVI or whatever. If you ever want to do the pod, just let us know. We can try and make some room. Welcome back to another episode of
Call Him Father.
And before we even get started, because I forget this every time, remember to like, subscribe, comment,
watch it,
share,
maybe even watch it.
Watch 2 minutes.
Maybe even before any of that.
New
just
challenge.
Watch it.
New Call Him Father challenge. Watch it for 3 minutes.
Watch it for 3 minutes.
Watch it for 3 minutes.
Here's what we challenge you to do to this to this podcast. Listen to it. How about that, huh?
For 3 minutes. It's going to be so sad when we fail that. Because
Yeah.
we've directly asked them. The fact that we have to ask them,
Yeah.
and then they're still not doing it.
Yeah, people still aren't doing it. I mean, it's funny because we do, like, the numbers on YouTube are like, we have 700 views, which for our amount of subscribers is really good. Like, we're 7xing our subscribers basically.
Yes.
In views, and then it's like, oh, but no one's actually watching,
Which is strange. Why look at it if you're not going to watch it? I mean, but maybe it's just like they're like, okay, we came here, we saw the feat, we conquered, and then they move on.
We left.
We came and left.
Yeah.
And if they're getting 3 of those in under 2 minutes,
yeah,
these are stinky today, fellas.
Ew. Dude, you know what's gonna be really sad is seeing a huge spike when we watch you say that.
Yeah, like
stinky,
and then it goes over.
Jeez.
How are you today?
A little challenge, dude. Something happened. I think it was me sitting here before. I got really tired.
I almost fell asleep when I was reading in the other room.
Dude,
shit's boring as hell, bro.
Whoa, what the hell? I was reading it earlier. It was really exciting. I thought him coming down to the mountain. I mean, we'll get into that part
later. You just
later.
had a coffee?
No, I read it on the train coming over.
Oh, okay.
It was awesome.
It was awesome.
It was so fun.
Okay.
It was really, I was visualizing it well. I feel like.
Yeah, I had that for the parting of the seas thing, but I think because I was just trying to crank through it so fast.
Yeah.
I didn't really dive into the visual depth.
Sure, I get it. Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Tired. Still trying to get back into like my regularly scheduled Bible reading and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just this same thing. We're recording this a few days after the last one. And also different studio today.
Oh yeah, new studio.
Not new studio.
My apartment. Instead of Josh's apartment.
Alternative studio.
Yes. We've got to wrap it up quick before my Muslim roommate gets back.
Yeah, before he
Finds
kills
out what
us
we're
both.
Doing. No, he wouldn't do that. Religion of peace.
Not on. Sorry, I mean, yes.
Where does that saying come actually from Islam, or is that just what?
Dude, I think every religion says that. Is there a single religion that's like, nah, we're pretty much about war?
Religion of war. Apparently, like Sikhs are like a warrior class.
The Uber drivers?
Yeah.
They're the warrior
it's
class.
It's short for seek and destroy.
Seek and find your Uber Eats order.
Yeah, no. But the whole like metal bracelet that they have is like a war-related thing.
Wow.
They're supposed to always have knives on them.
Well, that just seems smart to always have a knife on you.
Especially in this city. Especially if you're driving a fucking car.
Especially when, I just told you this story off pod, but I was walking in the subway.
It's a little crooked, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, tell him.
Okay, I was walking in the subway, and there's a guy walking in front of me, a homeless guy, and as I'm walking, he's right in front of me. He turns around and points at me like this. Like there's nothing in his hand, but he just points at me like this, just like a closed fist, but it's pointed out so it looks like he's holding a gun, and he just points it at me, and I don't stop walking, and he walks backwards to like keep it trained on me, and then I like don't know what he's doing, so I try and give him like a fist bump, and then he like backs up, and then he turns and walks away, and then he puts his hand in his bag. That's what actually scared me.
So scary.
And then ultimately nothing happened. But
it's so funny that like that's most stories like that.
Yeah,
and, like
totally.
This big build up, all this fear in your head, which that's pretty legitimate. Like a guy miming gun and then reaching into his bag. There's this guy who's like, and I'm not calling him this to be mean. It's like he says this about himself, but there's this autistic guy that goes to the New York Comedy Club mic sometimes.
Okay.
And he doesn't have an act. He just lip syncs scenes from movies. He only ever picks scenes where it's a black guy delivering the scene, which is kind of funny.
That's hilarious.
So he did like Samuel L. Jackson's Pulp Fiction yelling scene where he quotes
English, do you speak it?
yeah, he did that.
So funny.
They're entertaining. It's a nice break from shitty comedy.
Listen, I mean, that's just that's what TikTok is.
Yeah.
That's what it was, just lip syncing.
That's true, and dancing.
Yeah.
Why is dancing so nice to watch? What is that?
You know why it's so
Don't
cool?
say
Is
hot
because
girls.
they're all 14.
No, that's not why it's... Don't say that. Anyway, so he does this thing and he like gets really into it. It's a fun thing. But I guess he has a back brace, and like when he was really into it, he like got up under his shirt and ripped the back brace off. But I was for me, pulling the shirt up directly like that is gun. And I had this guy behind me, and I just took my phone and got ready to throw it at the guy. This autistic guy.
He has a gun, and
like,
you just throw your phone?
That's what you do.
You throw your phone?
You throw objects at them until you can get to them and you can get the gun away from them.
Wow, because they're going,
Yeah, everybody's still human. You're going to have reactions.
Yeah.
So I just start...
Well, if you're autistic, I bet he's pretty zoned in.
Yeah, he might have hyper-focused. Yeah.
Go ahead, throw the world at me.
Yeah.
He just doesn't care.
Yeah, he stops it with his mind.
You're
like Neo in the Matrix.
Yeah, but you're like, we all can do this. Just no one throws stuff at us.
There's a guy behind me who was like, once the guy got off stage, he was like, did you think he was going to pull the blicky out? I was like, I did.
Yeah.
I did.
Well, Blicky, another
It was
Mexican
a
guy. Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I was like really, really scared.
Dude, sure.
And then I thought about it for 5 seconds afterwards. It's like, dude, you think the guy's going to pull a gun out?
It doesn't matter, man.
It also doesn't matter.
It's way safer to have that reaction than for it to actually be a gun and for you to be like, I wonder what's going on. Like, you'd way rather
embarrass myself.
Exactly.
But it's funny, like there's so many situations where I do risk being hurt over making a fool of myself, or I risk not making. I don't risk making a fool of myself. Like I won't. Sometimes I won't wave homeless people down once they've passed me, even though I have money, because I don't want to make a scene.
Yeah, you don't want people to
waving, and it's like, what is the scene you're making of giving a homeless person money?
Yeah,
just this weird. And then you stop and you think about it, you overthink. Anyway.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I don't know. I'd be waving down everyone else looking at me, being like, look, watch. Let me. I'd want people to
observe.
If he comes up to me, I wave people down to watch me give him money.
I'm waving for the police. I'm going,
exactly. Hey,
this guy stinks so bad it's illegal.
Yeah. I wonder if that's ever happened. I wonder if someone's ever smelled so bad that cops were like, I need to arrest you to clean you.
At what point are you disturbing the peace?
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like everybody has that moment in New York when they first find out like an empty car is not a good sign.
Dude, I remember my first moment. I was here maybe like a few weeks and I saw it was a packed train and then there's an empty car stopped right in front of us. And I was like, how fortuitous.
Yeah. Have we had this conversation already?
I'm sure.
We saw it.
And then I got on and I was like, this is awesome. I do think the smell is bad, especially in the summer. It's going to get warm. It's going to smell bad. I start feeling bad, even more bad for blind people. Because, I mean, their senses are like through the roof, dude. I mean, this is not the city for blind people.
It's so funny you say that. Because me and two other comics were waiting in line for food after a mic today, and we watched a blind lady. She was rocketing down the street. I mean, really going fast for being a stick person.
Yeah,
because there's levels of blind.
Absolutely.
And she was stick level.
Yeah.
And she was going way too fast. And she's got like a person guiding her even. So we're just watching her like, oh, that's pretty fast.
A dog? Was
it was a person. It was a what are they called?
Au pair. Jamaican.
No, it was just still a person if they're Jamaican, but she just ran right into a gate. Like it was like, and she hit the I don't know if she was new to being blind, but she hit the gate.
New to being blind?
Well, yeah, maybe it just happened. Maybe she like ate she ate some makeup or something.
That's
went
true.
blind, but she like was really going fast, and maybe the person with her was new to guiding her because it really did not like, and she just ran right into this gate, and it was like, dude, this has to be the ballsiest city to be blind in.
1,000%.
I mean, trains, it's so loud. I guess I still have the like childish perception that blind people have bat hearing, have like super hearing.
I think they do have better hearing.
Well, they're more in tune with it, yeah. But I'm thinking like they can hear my heartbeat and stuff.
Oh, yeah, no, I don't think
They're
so.
like, he's about to fart in 4 minutes.
You hear the gurgling?
They can hear into the future.
Yeah,
because of
no.
I watched Daredevil when I was a kid.
Sure. Dude, I do think maybe if you're new to being blind, your stick is longer. Like, that's how you can tell. That's how
The most
you
elite
can
blind
tell.
people are just walking around with a chopstick.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, I'm fine. I can react very quickly.
There's a can there.
Yeah.
I walk by that can all the time.
That's the longer the stick is, like, whoa, it takes a long time to like move.
That's funny. Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's good because you move too fast. You walk into a fucking...
Right, exactly. I mean, I'd need a lot of reaction time. I'd need a lot of help.
Takes a lot of faith to be blind.
Whoa, walk by faith, not by sight.
Yes, not by stick.
Not by stick either. Yeah, get rid of your sticks, blind people. To all our
Yeah.
blind listeners, get rid of your sticks and your dogs. Just start
And go
praying.
with God.
Yeah, go with God.
Yeah.
I sent you the peace sign. You can't see that.
Yeah, it's an audio-visual medium.
Shoot. Yeah. And
But you told them.
They don't even have the visual, but
Well, so you've been feeling like you need to get back into
I need to get back into the
consistent
the
practice.
consistent practice of it. And it's just dumb because it's so stupid because it's like
The whole religion?
No. you wish, buddy. That'd be so easy for you. Where would we be? We'd be at an impasse. If I just left, you'd be like, oh, well, all right.
What do you mean?
I feel like that would change the dynamic.
If it was just me talking
quite
about
a
the
lot.
Bible?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know if I didn't believe it. Would I still be interested in talking about it? I don't know if I would be. It's hard.
For this long? Probably not.
It's a weird hypothetical. Yeah, just getting into the practice of it, and it's weird. I'm so like regimented weirdly with my schedule that I'm like I like to read in the morning.
Yeah.
So if I can't read in the morning,
It's the best time to read.
it's like the afternoon and evening. I'm like I don't even want to do it right now. Even if I have time, I'm
Yeah.
like no, but I like it in the morning. And it's like yeah, but okay, is that better than? So, but what if you can't tomorrow morning?
yeah, I mean,
And it's like
I feel like you can
know.
identify that there are optimal times and places for certain things.
Yeah.
Like working out and reading in the morning sets you up for such a good day.
Sure.
Or like meditating in the morning, but it's still better to do it at night if you haven't.
It's better than nothing.
It's better than nothing.
Yeah, and I
but
think
it's
that's
so demonstrably better in the morning
and
for
it's
some
just
reason.
well, that's another thing. It's like one of these things where it's like I don't want to. It sounds dumb to say waste it, but like I want to read it when I'm like and at night I'm like oh, and I feel like I'm not getting the most out of it, which is dumb because it's like what? Okay, then reread it tomorrow. Like what are you talking about?
Sure.
So I just feel like I'm making excuses and stuff.
But you have less energy. I mean, it's hard to you have a limited amount of energy per day, which
Thank
we
you.
stretch out with caffeine,
Yeah.
but, or candy and sugar and sweet awesome stuff.
Yeah.
But like, it takes effort to get involved in something and to really like.
Especially I'm reading numbers right now.
Oh,
which is
dude.
like so hard to get through.
2, 3, 4.
I mean, there's so many
There's
numbers.
so many
And
numbers.
you start off and it's easy.
Yeah.
Because you're like, I've been dealing with these numbers for forever.
But
And
then you
then
start
really,
getting to the
once you get
hundreds?
into the hundreds even are pretty, I feel like after 700, you're like, this is a lot.
This is a lot.
And then in the thousands, you're like, I've never even said this number out loud before.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
$2,000. Who said that?
Well, yeah, that or like 13,984. I've never said that number before in my life, and I'm just saying these numbers.
Yeah, that's because you haven't bought a certified pre-owned Kia Sorento before.
That's true. You're really bringing up the Kia Sorento. That's a good reference.
a good car.
It's a good car. That's a
Got
good.
a lot of like fun letters.
Yeah, Kia is funny because the K, and then Sorrento is like specific enough, and like it's funny. It's funny.
Thank you.
Word. Anyways, religion still ate, but just in terms of the spiritual practice aspect has been difficult for me to get into. How about you? You said the meditation morning still going good?
Oh, dude, I have not been able to do it in the mornings.
Cool.
It's funny because I spoke so highly about it last week, and now I'm just like, I just haven't had time. I still do my prayer stuff in the morning, but
Okay.
I haven't been able to. I haven't made time to meditate, but it feels, I don't know. I feel like when I'm like, I realize how boring I am and how bad I am at asking other people questions.
Sure.
And so I've been trying to ask more questions to people lately. And it's been making for more interesting and connective conversations, which feels good.
What sort of questions you asking?
It's person to person, but it's mostly
Okay,
like
it's not like a stock. Like
no.
Hey, so what do you think your mother would say about how you spent your day?
Yeah, that would suck. But I just noticed when I get all wrapped up in my head, I can't have conversations with people because I'm just thinking about myself.
Yeah.
So a way to get out of that is to try and really ask good questions to people. Because like I know people who are one of my favorite things about a lot of the people I love is they ask great questions, and it makes me look at things differently. It makes me think differently, and I realize like, my effort to be interesting all the time has made me boring because that's what I'm thinking about that instead of actually interesting stuff. Yeah. And so a way to get out of that and break out of that is just be interested in other people.
Well, also people, you know who people find interesting? People who are interested in other people.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, ironically, Rogan, one of the most curious guys, probably asks everyone questions all the time.
Yeah.
And everyone's fascinated by him. And all he is just curious in a ton of different things. I don't think he's this
so buff.
And so bald.
So bald and buff.
Wow, bald and buff.
Yeah.
2 Bs. Yeah, I think like his whole thing is I don't see him being like, I'm worried about myself all the time.
Sure.
I think that is something that like when we can be curious about other things, we actually do fulfill ourselves or like fill ourselves more than like trying to pretend.
Sure.
Like I saw this clip on Instagram from Slavoj Žižek about
yes, I love to talk like Slavoj.
The problem is, dude, he sounds like he's drowning constantly. He's just constantly underwater.
He sounds like he's in a really choppy surf.
Yeah. It's like, dude, we'll listen to him over the radio. Oh, does he?
Yeah.
Constantly.
Do you think he's just doing cocaine? I guess I'm making fun of technically his disability because he's got what's it called? He's got a tic.
Oh, does he? I don't know.
Yeah,
Tourette's or something?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I mean, that'd be such a overtell of cocaine. I wouldn't believe it. it would be like
it's a little on the nose.
Come on. I was listening to him say something about psychoanalysis.
I've seen this clip.
And the idea being
did not
like,
understand it.
He basically was like, psychoanalysis is as good as it can get up to the point where it's supposed to get you to stop thinking about yourself.
Yeah.
But people use psychoanalysis to like focus on themselves way too much. But you're supposed to focus on yourself, heal to a point where you can stop thinking about yourself, where you can think about others now. You're supposed to be selfless.
Really?
Yeah, you're supposed to heal, you know? But if you're constantly just thinking about yourself all the time, we run into the problem that you just mentioned.
Seems like you only do the opposite. You only do the first part in therapy. It's just talk about yourself.
Exactly. And that's his critique of it.
Yeah.
He's saying you need to focus on yourself enough to know that you are okay.
Yeah.
And then focus on other people.
Sure.
And ironically, that's what I think Christianity does really, really well, is if it gives you the assurance that you're loved and that you're okay. That doesn't mean that you don't have anything to work on or to better, but it does give you the safety to know that you're loved. And when you have that safety, you can then love other people.
Oh, so that gives you the baseline to get outside of yourself.
Yeah, because if you know that you've been accepted and loved by Christ, then you're like, oh, I'm okay. And now you can love other people because you're not fighting for your own worth and value anymore.
Jews have the same thing, but it's just with God.
Jews have the sacrificial system, and they don't sacrifice anymore. So I don't know.
Well, that's how they would prove their worth.
They prove their worth through the law, which is ultimately through actions, right?
The law,
and the law says you cannot touch.
Right.
But I think I see a lot of law breakers out here.
I mean, I was just envisioning a Jewish Judge Dredd.
A Judge Dredd?
Have you ever seen Judge Dredd?
Mm-mm.
God, you gotta watch movies, man.
Yeah, I don't really watch that much stuff.
Sorry. Anyway, take a dump on that riff, why don't you?
You're referencing culture. You know I can't do that.
My bad for referencing culture.
I can't speak to culture. But yeah, I think that's why Christianity does a great job with that.
Anyway, so that was a tangent from like, okay, maybe I'm not doing this spiritual practicey thingy, but I do think getting involved outside of yourself is an aspect of spirituality if you make it one. Been trying to do that, but other than that, I don't know. I put me right in the middle at 5.
Nice.
And then religion, I'm trying to read that one book, the
Quaker book.
No, the Quaker book and the history of God to get more knowledge about the background of these religions, and it's
cool.
It's interesting. It's just, dude, sometimes dense stuff like that, it's like Lunesta.
Dude,
it's crazy.
I stopped reading, like, I was on a roll reading at the end of college and after college, like into my working life. I was taking the train and I was reading every morning. I was reading novels. I was reading a ton. And then I started reading Jung into work in the morning, and it was so dense that I was like, I can't do this. It's putting me to sleep. Then I switched to podcasts. Haven't read since I was 20. haven't read in 6 years.
But I don't feel like I retain as much from podcasts.
Oh no, of course not.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
No,
okay.
Yeah, that's why I watch. I've been watching about this idea of like consciousness being fundamental, and I've been listening to basically the same idea being said over 10 videos and podcasts. It's just the same thing, and I keep listening to it as if it's new information because I forget. If I read it once, I'd be like, nice.
Yeah.
But I listen 1,000 times while I'm playing Fortnite, so I just don't know.
So you're not really listening to anything. You're mostly just have shit on the background.
I'm listening to it, but I'm not just like. Like that.
Really breaking it down.
Yeah.
Brain style. Yeah, I don't know. It's like, but it makes me feel like I also had this with my corporate day job when I had one, where, dude, it didn't matter how much coffee I put into my body, sitting there and like reading Excel sheets.
Yeah.
It's like, what's that brain thing where you just fall asleep like randomly?
Narcolepsy.
I thought I had narcolepsy. Just boom, boom, boom. You know how scary it is to wake up at your desk, and realize you're in hell.
That ain't no good.
You're still at your corporate job.
Yeah, you can't be doing that. Did you have like your own office? How'd you do that?
No, I just did it and didn't get caught. But it was
that's crazy.
I was sitting next to people sometimes, and when I wake up like that, I wake up like I'm coming out of a fucking PTSD dream.
Sure.
It's like I wake up like, I do it on planes all the time, and so the people next to me just have to be like, okay.
Dude, yeah. Have you ever done that with like when you're laying down and then you feel like you're falling?
Yeah.
And you're like,
that's how it is. Every single time I fall asleep on the plane, I wake up like Benicio del Toro in Sicario, which I know you didn't get that reference. It's a great movie. If anybody's watched it, they know the scene that I'm talking about.
I think references should be kept to under 6 syllables. If they're too, you're like Benicio del Toro in.
You don't know who Benicio del Toro
Then the other thing. No, I have no idea who that is.
Wow. He's like, what's a good analogy? I'd say he's like a Spanish Brad Pitt almost. Like he's a very highly respected.
Who was the guy that was in Spy Kids?
That is Antonio Banderas.
Thank you. I was picturing him.
Yeah, that's Antonio Banderas. He's good too.
Okay, thank you.
But Benicio del Toro is a little bit more esteemed.
Okay, all right.
Maybe Antonio Banderas is like Ben Affleck.
Oh, okay.
And then Brad Pitt, Matt Damon, that's Benicio del Toro.
Okay, nice. Yeah, you really can't. I mean, it's funny because I was homeschooled for 2.5 years.
Oh.
So I could just throw all of this on that.
During when?
4th, 5th, and half of 6th grade.
Oh, so really when you're developing your social skills. That makes so much sense.
Well, not during the cultural ad. So it's like, people are like, I don't know anything. I was homeschooled.
Sure.
Like I wasn't homeschooled during those years, but like I could just say I was homeschooled. So you could blame it on that.
But did your parents let you watch? Like, that's the thing about all this Christian stuff. Did they let you watch like funny movies and stuff? Like, could you watch Austin Powers as a kid?
No, Austin Powers was a no-go. I could watch.
Because he was Canadian?
Yeah, mostly because he was from a socialist country. He's anti-capitalist. What I think mostly, we watched Zoolander on TV, so it was like kind of cleaned up a little bit. But Zoolander was one of our favorite movies.
Great
the
movie.
whole family, we love Zoolander. I don't know. Actually, it was funny. Like if there were sex jokes, anything like that, no go. But gore, totally cool, totally fine.
That makes honestly sense though after reading the Bible, because there's so much violence,
dude. I remember. I think The Passion of the Christ came out when I was in 1st grade.
Yeah.
Right? As a rated R movie.
Yeah.
And kids in 1st grade, my 1st grade class, were like, yeah, I went to go see The Passion of the Christ in movie theaters. Like 7-year-olds going to watch a crucifixion. It was crazy.
Have you seen it?
Yeah, but I watched it like in high school or something.
Is it good? Did it, as you a Christian, were you like, yes?
No, I wasn't. Yes. Well, also, I grew up in a weird, like my mom is very anti images of Christ.
Oh, okay.
Like she thinks they all shouldn't exist.
Even like a Catholic church ones?
Oh, especially those ones. Yeah. She's like, yeah, any image of Christ.
Well, that's kind of in the rules.
Well, so that's how she interprets it, right? We can get into that. But so one of my buddies from school, from college, my Christian school, he was staying at our place for spring break or whatever. My mom was doing all of our laundry because she's a great lady.
Yeah.
And he had socks that had Jesus on the ankle of them. You guys would love this. It had Jesus. It had Jesus on like the side of here. And my mom was doing laundry, and then she goes, whose socks have this first century figure on them? Like she wouldn't even refer to it as Jesus. She'd
my God.
She's like tongue in cheek. She knew it was supposed to be Jesus.
Okay.
But
not
she's
that
like,
weird.
but this isn't Jesus. This is a first century figure.
Sure.
We don't know what Jesus looked like.
We don't?
No. No pictures.
What?
He just looked like a dude from that area at that time.
Oh, okay.
So we can like guess. He didn't have blue eyes most likely.
For sure.
Or blonde hair, which is a bit of a bummer, but
So like but the crucifix itself, would she wear a crucifix?
no, never. No.
Oh, okay.
No, she would never wear a crucifix.
Would she get like a tramp stamp tattoo of a crucifix?
Not of a crucifix,
Right. Okay.
but maybe something else.
Maybe your name,
Just a regular cross.
the baby's name.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, my brother's name, then my name right underneath. My dad's like, why are you doing that?
No, I don't want to look at that.
Come on. Especially conceiving me. It's like my firstborn's right there.
Yeah, they were already there.
Yeah, what the hell?
Got them right when she was
I'm
18.
manifesting. This cannot be a clip. We cannot
That's fair.
clip
That's fair.
Because my parents will see clips.
You want me to cut it out?
No, you don't need to cut it out.
Good, because you're editing.
Yeah, I'm not going to cut it out, but don't worry, I'm not going to make this a clip.
Okay.
I think we were talking about, images, Christ. Yeah, movies. Most culture I can engage. Like I could watch Harry Potter. I could do all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There were some things involving, I don't know, like the Left Behind series. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but that was a very Christian series, and I wasn't allowed to watch that just because my parents didn't like the theology behind it.
What was the theology?
The rapture idea, where it's like, hey, all Christians just disappear, and then it sucks.
That'd be nice.
And then it, no, it wouldn't be actually, because you'd enter a time of tribulation for 7 years.
Bitch, I've been in a time of tribulation for 28 years.
No, this would be like everywhere's Gaza. It would be like everything's like that. Just getting destroyed, hellfire from heaven.
Wow, that would really suck.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Gaza probably thinks that the rapture happened.
Yeah, they probably think
like,
that
we're
really
in
sucks
the end
too.
times, and we're like, actually, everything's fine. How crazy is that? How crazy is that? They're like, man, the whole world's in shambles, and we're like, no,
Nope.
just you guys.
No, just that horrible little place.
Yeah, well, there's other places that are in shambles too. I was reading about
Sudan.
Yemen. I was reading about Yemen this week.
Yemen's been in shambles for a while.
Yeah, the Houthis and the interesting.
Yeah, what's your opinion?
I was just reading up on it. It was kind of interesting because I was reading about the Houthis sect of Islam, and it sounds like a relatively peaceful sect of Islam.
Yeah.
So I was kind of interested as to how they became a radicalized tribe. Like I guess they're called a terrorist group. I don't know.
I mean, I think a lot of things are called terrorist groups.
Yeah, so it's I guess I didn't. The start of it was fuzzy for me. I still didn't really get a good picture of it because this was just Wikipedia reading. So I don't know.
Sick.
Yeah, which is as deep as I'll get. But anyways, yeah, it was interesting. Yeah, in terms of culture engagement, I could engage in most things, I think.
Okay.
Nothing. Yeah, I was not like a.
But they liked VeggieTales interpretation because that's just kind of redoing
VeggieTales.
it.
VeggieTales is basic.
But Christ is a what vegetable is Christ?
Christ actually never was featured in VeggieTales.
Oh well,
There's a lot of his Old Testament stories.
Was there any New Testament ones?
I'm trying to think.
Manger?
I don't know if there were.
Bunch of tomatoes in a bread basket.
I don't think so. A bunch of baby tomatoes. I don't think so. I don't think there were any New Testament ones actually. There's mostly Old Testament stories.
I don't remember them at all. I didn't even know they were Christian.
Yeah, that's insane that you didn't know that.
I was just a kid. They were just colors.
Crazy.
They were shapes and colors.
Dude. Oh, wait, I told you my coworker's feedback, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, who agrees with your friends, who was like, hey, less Bible stuff. And I was like, well, that's kind of the whole thing. Sorry.
Well, yeah, it's pretty much the entire premise, but
Yeah. He was like, just whenever you mention religion, I just can't listen. I'm like,
It's like so immediately.
and he wants to.
He's why people only watch 2 minutes.
He's a nice guy. He wants to support me as a comic, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I appreciate that, man. And he's like, I just can't do it with religion. I'm like, all right, that's cool, man. Whatever.
Yeah. Well, we respect his feedback.
We respect his feedback.
Can't really do anything about it.
Yeah.
Because that would require changing the entire show.
The entire premise of the
But
thing.
you know, we respect it.
Yeah, I appreciate him even trying to listen.
But
it's just
here's
funny.
the rules.
Yeah.
The rules are that it's a religious podcast.
Yep.
And speaking of rules,
Come on.
I mean, I'm really.
What is this guy, a natural?
I pulled something trying to stretch that one.
Yeah, that was pretty. Yeah.
That's pretty forced. well,
As a contortionist.
where are we coming from? Well, we are with the Hebrews. They are following Moses. He has just met up with his old fam-in-law, Jethro, who's taught him how to basically make a hierarchy, a structure for law.
Judicial system.
And now we get to Mount Sinai, and God's like, come here and talk to me a little bit, and I'm going to give you the law. But before we get to the law, we have to do a little foreplay of they get to Mount Sinai. God says, come up here. I want to talk to you, but here's the rules. You're going to go back down and tell the Hebrews that they need to wash their clothes and penises. And he didn't say that part, but
Stay
it's
away
kind of
from women.
assumed. And
He does
stay
say
away
that.
from women. Here's my theory on the staying away from women thing.
Yeah.
Is that because basically they need to wash their clothes and then in 3 days and stay away from women for 3 days. And in 3 days, God's going to come back and give Moses the law. My theory is that after 3 days of no sex, the Hebrew men are like, we don't, just whatever you say. Yeah, that's fine. Can we have sex again now?
Please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or they just wouldn't listen to some of these rules if they had post-nut clarity. That's my theory.
Yeah, maybe. But
Yeah.
that'd be crazy if like they nut. And
They're all
then
smoking
like,
cigarettes and they're like,
"That's not God."
well, I don't want
I
to.
don't know about that.
That was just a storm.
That seems crazy. Well, yeah, the way that they talk about God descending onto Mount Sinai, and they bring the people out to see this, is like cloud, not just like a nice, it's a white cloud, like a black cloud of thunder and
Yeah.
smoke, and like the
Fire.
mountain is trembling. Like it's not like this peaceful God.
No.
It's like this like shaking God, the God who like destroyed the Egyptians in the sea.
Sure.
Terrifying
Turned
God.
everybody to salt in Sodom.
Right. Yes.
Then also, while Moses is up there, no one's allowed to touch the mountain.
Lest they die.
Lest they die, they will be shot or stoned. Is God shooting them, or is
With a gun.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
just an arm is coming
Yeah.
out? But seriously, it doesn't say in the notes that I saw it. Who's shooting them? Is like
No, the people. They said don't let the people touch them, stone them,
Okay.
like kill them, no contact.
but
lest
don't
they're-
touch them.
Yes.
Oh, why?
I think it would be a weird thing of defiling holiness in a weird way. Like they
Okay.
touch them and then you touch them, and it's like. So later, I don't know if you got to this part, but Moses, this is just saying what happens later. Moses comes down from meeting with God, and his face is bright, so bright that they need to veil it. Right?
He's got
'Cause
like a
his
fake
holiness.
tan.
Well, the holiness of the Lord is like shining off of him like a mirror. You know? And so there's
it's
this-
like radioactive.
yeah, like that. So it's the sense of if you touch this holy mountain, you are now viable to hurt other people with this radiating sense of holiness that sin cannot be in the presence of. Like it's like oil and water; these things can't be present together, and so that's why he's saying, "Stay away; it will kill you."
Yeah.
And so that's kind of why.
Yeah, I guess it's just like I didn't know they had arrows.
What?
I didn't know.
Come on, man!
I didn't know they had
They had chariots, but no arrows.
I didn't know they had arrows. I didn't know they had trumpets.
Well, trumpets, this is what's interesting about the trumpets, is the trumpets come from heaven, right? They're not saying the people blow the trumpets. They're saying when they hear the trumpets.
What was
So-
the trumpet playing that song where it's like, and the trumpets they go. You remember that song, or is this another piece of culture that you just
This is
completely?
I
Good
know four
God.
songs.
You are probably no good.
I
at
know
trivia.
Amazing Grace. I know
not a
I know the
culture.
national anthem,
Okay.
and I know in both in Spanish.
Okay. Well, that's fair.
I don't know them in Spanish.
So yeah,
I am terrible at trivia, by the way.
God will tell Moses to come up when he plays a big trumpet from, I guess, heaven.
Yeah, from the trumpets will sound, and the people heard the trumpets and they were terrified because, again, just horrifically loud trumpets surround with this mountain in front of them that is engulfed in smoke and black cloud and lightning and thunder. I mean, Moses is like, all right, I'm gonna go up there.
Sure.
And he just goes up there, and everyone's like, what the hell? That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But also, it's the God that's been leading you through cloud and fire the entire time, right? So there's a weird sense of maybe an increased sense of his presence here.
Yeah. Plus, Moses' confidence has to be really top tier at this point.
But I don't know, man. He went from like a confident guy.
I have a stutter. I can't do anything. And then he brings a bunch of plagues on the most powerful nation. And
but
he doesn't do it.
Aaron does. Aaron tells Pharaoh that God's doing it.
Sure, but I'm just saying there's been a year at this point of some pretty big confidence boosting.
You'd think. Yeah, you'd think.
Sure. He's got faith at this point. That's what I'm saying. Because plus he's the only one who's like constantly in conference with God.
That is true. He is the most connected with God. I mean, I don't know if it has said this as of yet, but he says Moses spoke face to face with God like a friend, you know? And so that is another version of it's the word you like.
Sentence.
Nope.
Oh, theophany.
Yes. That would be like another theophany. Like he perhaps speaks with Jesus in the tabernacle, or not in the tabernacle, in his tent, and like talks to him as a friend. But
that happens later once the tabernacle is coming.
I believe that happens. I don't think it happens.
It doesn't happen on Mount Sinai.
Yeah.
Okay, so then he gets to the top of Mount Sinai, and then we get the big ones, the Big 10. God gives him his Big 10.
The 10 Commandments.
10 Commandments.
Which is a misnomer, because it really makes you think, oh, it's just these 10.
No,
but there's so much more than just these 10.
There's quite a bit more.
Yeah.
So God says, this line made me laugh. I am the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. The house of slavery sounds like the hottest new gay club. What was that, Stefan?
Stefan.
SNL character?
Yeah, SNL.
The house of slavery.
Come this weekend, we're all going to the house of slavery, open from 1 a.m. to 2 a.m.
1 a.m. to 1:01 a.m.
Yeah, exactly. It's the hottest ticket in town.
If you don't come in 1 minute, you're out.
Exactly.
You're getting kicked out anyway.
It's like our video. Everyone's coming in 1 minute.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But we're proud of you guys. It was 2 minutes last time, which means the gooning is paying off.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Also, the guy literally commented, one dude came for the socks, stayed for the conversation.
And we appreciate that.
Thank you. Did you see one of the latest comments we got?
Yeah, it was the app removed all of my comments. Damn.
That was too bad. Sorry for you, fella.
What did he say?
There's another one. I just think he's goofing.
Oh, okay.
That's real. But there's a comment after that said, verbatim, I apologize for getting your comment wrong a little bit, but it said, this really sucks a lot. It's not too late for you guys to stop. And then I liked it, hearted it, and then commented and said, I totally understand where you're coming from.
That's going to bother me all night.
He said, he's like, guys, this really sucks. It's not too late for you to stop. And then I looked at his page. He subscribes to all my favorite podcasts. He follows The Regs. He follows Stavi's World. I'm like, damn it. This dude would be our boy.
This guy knows podcasts.
Yeah, I'm like, I'd like this guy. It's so funny.
That hurts my feelings, but you know what? We're gonna get better, but that's the thing. We're gonna get better at it.
I've really thought I should really try to make things funny.
It'd be nice.
I really do.
It'd be nice, but what are you gonna do?
I forgot. It's so bogged down in the religion of it all.
Okay, so Commandment 1: you shall have no other gods before me.
Yes.
Don't worship other gods.
An
extension of Commandment 1 is Commandment 2, which is don't make images of other gods and don't worship them.
Mm-hmm.
So no fish statues. This seems like a direct, not a direct reference, but I guess this was a common thing of the time, was like all the Egyptian gods, their big statues and stuff. The idols that what's her name stuffed under her hooch. When being pursued.
Rachel.
Rachel.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, The interesting part is when he's like, basically, don't make these false idols, don't worship them, because I am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers on the children to the third and the fourth generation of those who hate me, but showing steadfast love to thousands of those who love me and keep my commandments. So basically, if you don't respect, I think, all the commandments, but it's put in this particular one,
right?
Your son, his son, and then that kid's son, they're all fucked.
Well, and I will say, I mean, I guess you could read it like
but he's
that.
a jealous guy.
I read it as like generational sins and generational trauma is what we would call it now, right? So like when parents mess up, it does affect their kids. Like they need to try to right that ship somehow of the effect that it has on them. And oftentimes they don't write it well. And then that generational trauma swings them the other way. And then it affects their children. So it's always like this trying to balance it out. I
Sure.
think, right?
There are long-term repercussions to your actions. But
yes.
Thousands are saved if they love him.
Yeah.
So does that mean that, my dad fucked up, but then I worship and love him? Does that nullify it out for the next two generations that are supposed to suffer from him? Or does that just make me good?
Oh, I would say it nullifies
what's the math?
I would say it nullifies it, right?
Just got to get the specifics right. Get the law down.
Yeah.
Okay, next commandment: you shall not don't take the Lord's name in vain. Now, this is one where it's like, what does this mean exactly? Because it's like when I stub my toe and say Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Is that
loves
am I going
me
to hell?
and died for me? What?
No, I usually don't finish the sentence.
You don't finish like that?
Yeah.
That's crazy. No, so I don't know. Again, different interpretations. My mom is like a literalist when it comes to this stuff.
She's illiterate.
She's illiterate. No,
that makes sense.
Quite literate.
Okay.
Unfortunate. I think she's very literal when it comes to that stuff. So she's like, if you say the name, then and it's not referring to, and it's not in like a respectful manner or something like that, then you're cooked. That's not the way to say. Then you're taking his name in vain.
Okay.
I'm less literal in that sense because I think it comes down to like your heart posture. Also, we say God all the time, like referring to the Greek gods or the Roman gods. That's it's still the word God. So if someone says, "Oh my God," I don't think they're using the Lord's name in vain. Well, yeah, but most people that say that aren't actually referring to a deity at all. They're just being, dang it. That's what they're saying. So I see those as euphemisms. I think it's contextual. Jesus Christ, I would be like, I would. That bothers me more than, oh my God.
But I really love stubbing my toe.
You love stubbing your toe?
When I stub my toe, I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Hey, anything to get you to pray, man.
Okay.
I mean, really. I do think... using his name in vain then I think was much more like swearing. Like in the Lord's name, I will do this, that, and the other.
Sure.
It's much more of like an intentional misuse of his name.
Sure. I am trying to hijack some of his power to use against you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. And then we've got the next one, which is take a day of rest.
Everyone chill, dude.
Everyone chill.
Yeah, and that's the law.
But still,
it's the law to chill.
Still working for a 6-day work week.
6-day work week.
These 4-day work week people, they're not Hebrews.
That's right. Also, only one company doing this right now.
Who?
Chick-fil-A. And they're crushing it.
They're doing 4-day work week?
No, they're doing 6-day. They're always closed on Sundays.
Yeah, that's true.
And they're crushing it.
Yeah, but they're just doing such a good job.
So good.
Their breakfast is amazing.
Dude,
Their breakfast it's so good.
I used to get their breakfast almost every day. I was at my fattest then. I weighed 230.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
230 is heavy.
Yeah.
But you got big legs. You're strong.
I wasn't as strong then.
Yes. There's more to this. On it, you shall not do the work.
Now you're not your servant or your female servant. Not your
even people who are hanging out in your land.
Yeah, even folks who are just hanging with you. No working.
Cut
it out. And that
so
that
for
goes
Jews,
back to
that's
earlier.
Saturday.
Yes. Yeah.
So their week starts Sunday.
Yes. Sunday is for everyone the first day of the week.
Not me.
All right.
Okay.
Big man.
So that's the day of rest.
Yep. Sabbath.
And then we've got honor your father and your mother. That just is nice. That's just nice.
It's nice, but also
respect your elders.
Keep reading.
Honor your father and your mother, that your days may be long in the land that the Lord your God is giving you.
That is so. It is the only commandment of the 10 Commandments that comes with a promise.
So if you honor your mother and father, you're gonna have a nice time.
Yeah, kind of a keeping the house in harmony sort of situation, right?
Okay.
And it's like again, if you look at just the math of it, you're like, well, that does make total sense. If you honor them, honor is different, right? Honor doesn't mean everything they're doing is okay, right? Because if you have abusive parents or whatever, it's not to be like, well, you're being great, but it's to treat them respectfully and to love them well.
Sure.
Which might look differently for different parents.
Fuck. Can you do that if they're dead? Can you keep honoring them?
Sure, absolutely.
Oh, thank
I think
God.
one of the best ways to do that is to write jokes about it and to say them on to
Like
say it on
7 to 10 minutes of jokes.
Yeah,
about
7 to 10 minutes of jokes about it and do it on stage.
Okay, perfect.
So
then I will keep doing that.
long may your days.
You shall not murder.
Don't murder.
Don't murder.
Pretty straightforward.
Because I feel like when I first heard about this commandment, it was thou shalt not kill.
You're right. Very different.
And that is very different. Because
Yeah.
never kill is very different from never murder.
Absolutely.
But I didn't know that. I thought that. So what's up with that?
So kill is just kind of like, well, kill is the broad version, right? Murder is the kill without justice, right? So there does seem to be some room here for justly killing somebody. Whether that may be, now we'd say war, or perhaps some people would argue capital punishment may be just, things of that nature. So it's like there is a just sense of death.
What would Jesus say about that?
I'm trying to think if Jesus spoke to. Jesus said that the people.
He seems. I thought he was a turn the other cheek type guy.
He is a turn the other cheek type guy, absolutely. But that doesn't mean that there will not be any justice, right?
Sure.
Like there will be justice, and justice in some instances means death, right? Which is pretty crazy. We get into that later, but eye for eye, tooth for tooth situation.
Yeah, the eye for the eye, the tooth for the tooth. Which this is where it becomes similar to other stuff of the time, like the Code of Hammurabi is also where there's a mention of eye for eye, tooth for tooth.
I know that.
And I think that is an older artifact than the Bible.
And Jesus saying turn the other cheek is really more in response to that. Eye for eye, tooth for tooth. And then Jesus says turn the other cheek. Everyone's like, no, it's eye for eye, tooth for tooth. That's what it is. So that's why Jews didn't like what Jesus was saying about the law, because it's like, well, no, that's not what it is. But Jesus was preaching forgiveness, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's maybe we'll get more into that in 300 years when we get to the Jesus part, but it's like the parts where he contradicts the Old Testament makes it feel like, well, how can these things be compatible but they're all true.
So Jesus, in short, not to dive too much into it, but Jesus fulfills the law, right? So he follows all of these rules that we're going to read perfectly. Right.
Okay.
And then he dies as a sacrifice, as a perfect sacrifice, because he was never stained with sin. So that fulfilled the law, that check mark now of living a perfect life is pasted onto all of us. So now we don't need to follow this law in a sense to like
I don't have to respect my mom and dad?
No, you need to respect them, but out of love, and it's not to earn your salvation. You've been saved, so now you can love them well.
So the major difference between these two religions is in order to be saved, you have to do these things. And then the one is you are already saved because the sacrifice has been made.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's it.
That's a pretty fundamental difference.
Yes. And that sacrifice is Jesus, who of course the Jews don't accept as the Messiah, right? And then Christians.
And then what would, maybe you don't know this, but so if Judaism is, it's law, fulfill these laws and you are saved. Mm-hmm. And Christianity is, you are saved so that you can move forward with love, because you don't have to worry about fulfilling like anything anymore. So you must do this to be saved. You are already saved. What would Islam be?
Islam would be, yeah, you're right. I couldn't speak to that too much. But Islam is much more like Judaism.
Yeah, okay, more law-based.
Much more law-based.
Yeah.
Much more to do and to be saved.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, you shall not commit adultery.
No cheating.
No cheating.
Come on, no cheating.
Because there hasn't been anything about like you got to get married to fuck people.
Right.
There hasn't been
None
any
of that yet.
So that is allowed.
Sure, but laws back then were pretty loosey-goosey.
Sure.
I mean, they even talk about that here, right? Like, talk about that going forward. It's like, hey, if you get a slave girl and then you get another wife, you still got to treat your slave girl like a wife, and then, which kind of implies,
yeah, I love that line. You still got to feed her. It's like a dog. You still got to give her the same amount of food.
This isn't my wife. This is your wife. Okay,
Yeah.
you have to take care of your wife.
Yeah.
All right, not me. Your wife. Yes. Okay.
Can't let her go running around peeing on stuff.
It's your responsibility now.
Keep her in the yard.
But it is this idea of like, okay, yeah, so they were probably treating them as in terms of, I don't know what the marital ceremony would have looked like back then. I mean, but again, we've got pictures of people like Jacob marrying Leah and Rachel where they had huge wedding feasts. So like there is this sense of marriage.
Sure.
But also
it's not
you
a
got
rule.
your concubines, you got all your other stuff, you know?
But like one night stands.
I don't know if one night stands are, hey, tonight was really fun. I'd like to see you around camp sometime. You know, I don't know if that's going on a lot.
I think that's kind of crazy to say that's not going. Like people are fucking.
It's probably going on.
Yeah.
But like with David and Solomon, like down the line, they just had like tons of wives and tons of concubines.
Sure.
So I don't think there's this one night stand. I think it was like, you get over
You're
here.
mine
They have sex
forever.
with them once, and then they're just like throw them in the harem.
Okay.
You know,
But it's not there's no nothing. There's no law.
as of yet.
Yeah. Okay. You shall not steal. Pretty. That's cut and dry.
Oh, is that yours? No. Yeah, don't take it.
Oh, okay. That you're acting out stealing.
That's right. Don't take your stuff.
You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. That's just don't lie.
Don't lie.
Okay. And this is another difference from my understanding from what you've told me is that's important, your neighbor, because
who is your neighbor?
Who is your neighbor? And so to people who practice Judaism, your neighbor is a fellow Jew.
Yes, I mean, yeah, it's like Jews are your neighbors who you're with, right? Because I mean, think about living at a time here.
Yeah.
Right? You're with your tribe.
Yeah.
And those are your neighbor. And then you move in and you are next to the Philistines. You're like, well, that's not my freaking neighbor. Those are my enemies. I can lie to them.
And Jesus, he's like, don't lie. Everyone's your neighbor. Don't lie to anybody.
Who's the neighbor? Everybody. Yeah.
You shall not cover. This one is getting a lot of jokes I've seen recently.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of do not covet your neighbor's house or your wife. And then it's like a cuck joke. And then there's another one where another guy mentions don't covet your neighbor's ox. So you don't want to, basically the whole thing is don't be jealous.
Yeah. Don't covet.
Don't covet.
Right. Don't want what they want. Don't want to tear others down.
And are these, I mean, a lot of these are also linked to 7 deadly sins, right?
I don't know. I don't even know if I know what those are. Sloth,
pride, lust.
Sure.
4 other ones.
Yeah.
And envy. Lust would be adultery. Anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And then, now that didn't feel like 10.
Did you miss any? Did we miss any?
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And that's because it was 10.
Interesting.
And so after all this, God says this to Moses. The people saw the thunder and the flashing and the scary, spooky God. And then Moses comes down and he tells them all these laws.
Yeah.
Where is the part? I mean, I always thought that it was like he hammered it into like tablets.
Well, the idea is God wrote it with his finger, right?
Ooh.
So God was like,
Moses, like the 2 tablets are set up, and then Moses turns around and has his ass painted like a tablet. Ooh,
did you do it on here?
Maybe an 11th one, God. Gay Moses. How sacrilegious is that?
Dude, there were gay people back then.
The Nephilim? Just big honking gay guys?
Big, dude. I've been watching a lot of videos on Nephilim. When my dad was in town, we talked about the Nephilim.
Oh.
Very interesting.
Where do you get more information about them?
Dude, it's so...
Because
ancient Jewish stuff.
Oh, like Talmud stuff?
Not Talmud, but like just other ancient Jewish texts. They talk about the Nephilim and stuff like that.
I was thinking about this is how like the Old Testament, well, really all this stuff is like, you know, like that Yuval Noah Harari guy who just does like mega histories on stuff.
Oh, okay.
This is basically like, this is a mega history of the Hebrew people.
Yeah.
This is like, I mean, whether or not you think the stuff actually happened or not, but this is a massive autobiography of, I think when you come into this for like me and it's all just stories, you don't understand that it's a history of a people as they've kept it.
Sure.
So it's a little biased, chosen people.
Well, dude,
God loves us. And we're awesome.
They look retarded. This the entire stories, they just look stupid.
Yeah.
They look so dumb the entire time.
Yeah. Well,
and you haven't gotten to any of this yet. They get trounced, dude. They just get destroyed all the time. So it's like if that's them at their best, I mean, this is embarrassing.
Sure. I guess my bias is in the whole chosen people thing.
Yeah, well, it's like this is a story of God choosing a Jew to be his NBA player, and he puts him into the NBA.
Yeah,
and they just kind of like they play the game,
but
they kind of suck. Yeah, they're Jews in the NBA. Is what they are. And you're like, damn.
But then they also the Cinderella stories.
Well, no, Cinderella stories, and then ultimately the best player in the NBA of all time, LeBron James, was born of the Jews.
Yeah,
according to for keeping them. So that's what happened.
Wow, that's going to be the most controversial part of this. Is
that I called
not
LeBron
me calling
Jesus.
gay Moses, but that LeBron James is Jesus and that LeBron James is the best of all time.
Yeah. Start a fight in the comments. Is it MJ or is it LBJ?
If you made it this far, thanks. So laws about altars. Is this important to you at all? Because I didn't really.
Well, it is interesting how he talks about altars should not be built with gold. They should be made out of the dirt. And then later he sets up the temple and the tabernacle, and it's like the most ornate thing you've ever seen.
Yeah, because that seems like a cool, humble God thing to do. It's like, this is
not too much.
No, don't even make steps.
Don't even bother.
Yeah,
please.
Don't make it of gold. Don't make it of silver, which the Catholics did not read this part.
I know. Yeah, quite ornate.
But
Pope today.
Oh yeah, congrats on new Pope.
Congrats on new Pope.
Yeah.
You know what my mom said? Oh, let me pull up this text from my mom.
By the way, Pope Robert, what's his name? Post Malone?
I have no idea.
It's Robert something, but he's going by Leo
Chicago.
XVI or whatever. If you ever want to do the pod, just let us know. We can try and make some room.
We could definitely try and fit you on.
Yeah.
We're in Old Testament stuff, so I don't know if you'd be interested. But I said, okay, so I texted my mom, new Pope elected. And then my mom just responded, 276th imposter.
Wow.
My folks do not like the Catholic
That's
Church.
so fun. I mean, there's a lot of good reasons to not like
that's
the Catholic
true. My
Church.
dad used to be Catholic, so it's fair.
Oh, okay. So now we get to the really interesting stuff, which is laws about slaves.
Yeah.
And boy,
and we got to wrap this up in 4 minutes, so we can't really talk about that.
Yeah, so we can't really talk about that. We just miss it next time.
Laws about slaves, hard cut.
Yeah, so this is interesting. I mean, you kind of really want to get into the nitty gritty about this because, first of all, when you buy a Hebrew slave, so all these only apply to Hebrew slaves.
I believe so.
And they have slaves of their own people.
Sure.
It seems like slave back then meant more like housekeeper, indentured servant.
Yeah.
Contract worker.
Well,
intense contract.
You go through
hard work.
You go through the laws and you're like, this is not a slave.
Well,
compared to like the slavery that we think of.
Yeah, but then
Dude, it says every 7 years all the slaves just go free of no charge. They're just free now.
Sure, but then if you give someone a slave, if you give your slave a wife, is that a children's book? If you give your slave a wife,
give your slave a wife.
Yeah. If you give your slave a wife and they have children, and then the guy is done after 7 years, they get to just keep the women and children, unless the guy is like, well, I don't want you to take my women and children. Now I'm your slave forever.
Unless he loves his wife and children.
Sure, but that's kind of an offer you can't refuse, right?
Well, I think it's interesting. What did it say? It said if you provide a wife and he has kids, then it's yours.
If his master gives him a wife and she bears
gives
him sons or daughters, the wife and her children shall be her master's, and he shall go out alone. But if the slave plainly says, I love my master, my wife, and children, I will not go out free, then his master shall bring him to God, and he shall bring him to the door or the doorpost, and his master shall bore his ears through with an awl. So he gets a gauge with an awl, and he shall be his slave forever.
Yeah.
Puts you in a precarious situation, though.
Sure, it does. Although
unless you're allowed to just be free while your wife and kids are slaves.
Yeah, that's
like
interesting.
next to it.
Right. I mean, if you're like, well, I'm going to go kind of start my own business and I can get married to you, but your job and our kid's job is to work for this other dude who used to be my slave owner. And also, he said if he gave the wife, so this woman has been his slave, presumably prior, right?
Okay.
And so he gives his slave to one of his other slaves to have as a wife and to have a family.
The algorithm is going to have a heyday with this amount of the word slavery.
And then you give your other to the other. Yeah. So
what if we
anyways,
replace the word slave with friend? That seems disingenuous.
then it feels like then the people would get mad at us.
Okay, we'll keep slave. We'll keep slave.
Okay, fine. We'll keep slave.
Okay. When a man sells his daughter as a slave, she shall not go out as the male slaves do. If she does not please her master, who has designated her for himself, then he shall let her be redeemed. He shall have no right to sell her to a foreign people, since he has broken faith with her. If he designates her for his son, he shall deal with her as with a daughter. If he takes another wife to himself, he shall not diminish her food, her clothing, or her marital rights. This is what made me laugh.
Right.
Is you still got to feed him just as much.
Yeah, well, but also it's like
you got to give him 2 cups of kibble. You can't cut down.
he just said if you treat this slave as your wife, you have to treat her as your wife. And if you take another wife, you still got to treat her as your wife. You
Yeah.
can't just throw her to the side.
But what does it mean if she does not please her master? I guess it's like are they
basically
fucking?
this is
it
like
fucking?
if he I would say if he doesn't
okay.
if he wants a divorce.
Yeah, okay.
That's basically what that is. And he's saying you can't divorce her, you gotta still treat her well.
Even if you don't like her, you got to keep her around
Exactly.
and
Which
feed
again,
her.
for this is probably falling on deaf or annoyed ears, but based on how women were viewed back then, this is very high treatment of women, relative culturally speaking, back then.
Yeah, I mean, I trust that. I guess it's just like the problem is when you take the book and then you say that this is God's word, right? Then that means you can apply this forever. That's what the problem. And so like this stuff it's just the fact that they're slaves.
Sure, if Jesus had nothing to say about this and if Jesus didn't fulfill the law, then I would say, yeah, this is the law we're still living in. But
Sure.
he did. So I think Jesus has a lot of not undoing the law, but fulfilling the law so that we don't need to live by this law.
Okay, yeah, but then it gets into like
Also, a lot of this was cultural. There's a lot of stuff. Like I know the Connectly people talk about this a lot. Do you know who they are? Cliff and Stuart Connectly.
stiff.
Yeah, I messed up. Cliff and Stuart Connectly talk about this a lot.
Stiff Connectly.
I'll stiff you.
I don't know who that is, but I'm gonna start looking into it.
Yeah, they're like apologists and stuff.
Yeah.
They go into college campuses and they talk about slavery.
That's how
They
you know
say-
you're on the wrong side of an argument is when you're apologist. You're just apologizing the entire time, like sorry.
Oh, it's so they talk about the slavery. They say God doesn't say slavery is good inherently, but he does give rules by which to have slaves because he knew that that is a part of the culture. You know what I mean?
What about this rule? Don't have slaves.
He said, in terms of, I think what slavery was back then versus what they're describing now, like you said earlier, these are more indentured servants. So in a sense, he kind of is saying, also like when you talk about eye for eye, tooth for tooth, and then he says, if you beat your slaves, you'll like be put to death and stuff like that.
Well, that's only if they die immediately. But if they die 2 days later.
No, not if they die 2 days later. If they recover 2 days later.
Oh, I thought it sounds like if they die 2 days later.
No, that'd be hilarious. You have them on a slow drip.
I was like,
you can die in 2 days.
but if the slave survives a day or two, he is not to be avenged, for the slave is his money. That makes it sound like if he makes it past a day or two.
No, from how I was reading that, saying if you hurt him and he's out of commission for 1 to 2 days.
That would make more sense.
Yeah.
But also, some of this stuff just doesn't make sense.
But also, he's saying the slave, that is his money. Basically, he's saying, hey, man, your slave is working for you, making you money. If he's hurt so he can't work for 2 days, you're just hurting yourself. You're hurting your profitability because he can't work for you now. So you're losing money. So what are you, stupid? Don't do that.
Yeah, beat him to death.
Yeah, just kill him.
Yeah.
In which case, you need to die.
And then you need to die.
Also, anyone who's, it says this later, but it talks about anyone who steals a foreign person from a foreign land and sells them as a slave will be put to death. And it's like, okay,
That's human trafficking.
Yeah, that's human trafficking. That's all of like the chattel slavery. That's all of the American slavery. All of that, that verse gets rid of all that.
That's true.
So it's like in terms of what we think of slavery as going in, stealing, selling.
Sure.
In one verse, the Bible's like, yeah, that's terrible.
Yeah, that's good. Good job, Bible.
Good job, Bible.
I will give a good job on Bible on that one.
Wow, it's the first good job Bible we've got.
When men strive together and hit a pregnant woman so that her children come out, but there is no harm, the one who hit her shall surely be fined.
What does that
Surely
mean,
he shall be fined.
Surely. You will surely be fined.
Someone should give him a ticket.
Like Come on, someone's got to give it. Oh, he
like
will
a
surely
meter
receive
made
it.
over a battered woman. Be like,
all right, how many?
That
men
is illegal.
Which one of you men hit her?
As the woman's husband shall impose on him. So the woman's husband gets to decide the fine. And why is this in the slave section?
Because women were slaves.
I guess that's true. He shall pay as the judges determine. But if there is harm, then you shall pay life for life, eye for eye. So this is like if you beat the lady and there's harm to the child.
I think the lady too.
If you beat the lady, there's harm.
Yeah, and there will be, if there is no harm, then no harm, no foul. Or no harm, no harm, fine, but harm, foul.
But how are you beating a lady with no harm?
It's these are Jews we're talking about.
Okay.
These are not some heavy hitters.
Yeah. There's even justice for...
Hey, you have to...
There's even justice for oxes. This I found interesting. That if an ox gores a man, they put the ox to death. But if there's a history of the ox goring people and the owner hasn't done anything about it, he's held responsible.
Yeah, man, it's a wild horse. Get your.
An ox is a wild horse?
You understand?
Oh, okay. You said the wrong animal.
It's a wild, thing. You get your oxen together. You know what I mean? So it's like you knew the risk and you didn't take care of it. You should be held responsible.
And if the ox
it's like if you
gores
have a dog
slave,
that bites people, it's like, hey, dude.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
You should not have a dog. If the ox gores a slave, male or female, the owner shall give to their master 30 shekels of silver, and the ox shall be stoned. How long does it take to stone an ox?
Yeah, dude. I bet they're gonna be like, oh, jeez.
Fuck.
How many people?
That's got to be a lot of work.
Boom. You're just going at it.
Maybe that's why they need all these slaves.
You hit its butt. Yeah, most of the time they're just throwing rocks at animals.
And then the laws of restitution. I wanted to get to the other laws, but I don't think we're going to get to it.
Yeah, we'll get to more.
Laws of restitution. This is like basically if you do something and there's repercussions and unintended repercussions is how I read this.
Yeah.
So like if a man digs a hole and forgets about it and then an ox falls in it and it gets hurt or dies, the guy who dug the hole needs to fucking pay the guy whose ox died. Something like that, basically.
Yeah. I mean, they get into the nitty gritty. Also, going back, I want to just read this out. First off, whoever strikes his father or his mother shall be put to death. That one's like a one verse.
Stop.
Boom. Easy. This is whoever steals a man and sells him, and anyone found in possession of him shall be put to death. Also, really cut and dry. So that's kind of pretty.
But what if the man is sold to him?
Then I think it's sold under false pretenses.
Well, because if it's no one would opt into being a slave, right?
Well, I think no. I don't think that's true at all. I think a lot of these people would opt in because indentured servitude. You're like, hey, I owe you a debt.
Okay.
I'll work for you for 7 years.
Yeah, it's
or whatever.
very hard to parse out the current understanding of slave and the.
Yeah, it's almost frustrating that they use the word slave here because it is so different. Because the American our understanding,
but
of
also
slave,
their slavery in Egypt was almost like more like a factory worker in China now, where it's like you have no other options really.
Yeah,
economically, and also the government forces it.
Sure,
but it's not what we envision. We just have such a hard, horrible, which is merited.
Sure,
but,
yeah.
It's hard to parse those two out.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
What was I trying to say about what were we?
No one would
about?
opt into slavery.
Yeah, that's why it's hard to parse out. But even still, I have to admit, my understanding of the slave trade, the African slave trade or whatever, is pretty limited because I went to public school and I have not read a book about it.
Sure.
But if those people are captured by one people, I mean, this is, speaking of the nitty gritty, if those people are captured by one people in their own continent or whatever, and then sold, does that apply here?
I mean, I would imagine so.
Okay.
Why it wouldn't be?
Well, it's not, whoever steals a man and sells him, and anyone found in possession of him shall be put to death. I guess.
I don't think the
then you're-
American traders or the British traders or whoever who bought the slaves from Africa
Yeah.
were like, oh, I had no idea they were
Sure.
stolen. It's like, yeah, you did.
No, of course not. I guess it's just like really into the specifics of like, you're still involved in the stealing. If you're participating in that
course.
action at all, you're involved in the
Yeah,
stealing.
because guess what? I mean, when you buy, that creates demand.
Yeah.
You know, so people are like, well, we sold all of our slaves. We got to go get more. So they
Sure.
keep stealing. You know, it's like, no, don't do that. What are you talking about?
Yeah. But it's also this stuff is like used to justify having slaves historically as well.
Right, which I don't know. There were different. There's an interesting history of this in terms of versions of the Bible that were written back then, like translation, like how this is the ESV.
Yeah.
They had different versions of the Bible.
Versus the YSV, the yes slave version.
Yeah. Yeah, like they just had crazy versions of the Bible and stuff. And it's like, because I don't see how you get around verses like this.
Sure.
In terms of like how you treat them like humans. Because that is kind of all throughout this. Like definitely you treat them as, to a degree, economic units, like paying shekels and
Yes.
when they're out, it costs money and stuff like that when you're buying and selling. But every 7 years, your slaves go free, tying to the fact that they are people. If you don't treat them as people for 6 years, for the seventh, they are a person. They're free again. You know, so that's the underlying value. They're not a lifelong slave. And if you are,
Well, if
it's
they're a
only of your
man.
own volition.
If
right?
they're a man, they're not a lifelong slave. But it seems like women, I mean, at least in the initial expert is if it's a woman, it seems like it's a lifelong slave because she's not just taken in as a worker, she's taken in as a wife.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. That does talk about if she was taken in as a wife. Like it seems like almost as a concubine, kind of like Bilhah and
It almost seems like
Zilpah in that sense.
That's just assumed that's what the women are for.
Yeah, kind of like Bilhah and Zilpah, like back with the Jacob's wives' servants. They were concubines. I guess that might have been the role that they played back then. I'm not totally sure. But the idea being like, yeah, women were baby makers back then. They were consummate, like that is kind of what their role was, which is also why, like, again, not to jump to the New Testament, but this idea of,
I think I'd rather even be male slave still.
oh, sure.
Work in the field versus popping kids out.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But I think
continue.
in the New Testament, they talk about women. They give women value without being married and without having kids.
Yeah, they
and
just have to be
you're
beautiful
still valuable.
and young.
They don't even have to be beautiful.
What?
One
But
was-
young.
No, not even young.
What?
They talk about Lydia and they talk about Timothy's, I think it was grandmother. So it's like they talk about a lot of key women, and they're valuable people. They're not just like
Because they have big boobs.
people to be. They don't mention the boobs.
That's so.
I
That'd
think
be
it's
so
safe to
funny
assume.
if they
Yeah.
mentioned the boobs.
Mary Virgin, the Virgin Mary stacked.
Big boobies.
Yeah, I mean, I think, it just offers a degree of, I can't think of the right word. It's not just value, but integrity and, value to someone who is not married, a woman who is not married. You're not just property of your husband. You're not just a baby maker. You're a person, you know?
And that's nice.
That is nice for them, I guess. I mean, I'm trying to get in the mind of a woman here. I don't know if that's...
That's hard.
That's
you have
something
to
they'd
shrink
like.
your brain down.
Yeah, it's hard. My big brain can't fit into the brain of a woman.
Exactly.
It's so hard to cram it in there.
Glad we can end on that misogynistic note. That awful look of a note.
Well,
I'm joking.
You do.
I'm joking. Okay.
He's joking.
I hope that wasn't. What would the comments say?
I could look it up and read it verbatim if you want.
Yeah, let's end on that.
Let's end on
that.
Let's
it's,
end on
it's
that.
worth the wait, guys. Just stay and hey,
stick
remember
around.
to like and subscribe.
Yeah.
And leave comments like this.
And leave a comment like this one.
Heartbreaking comments like this
Heartbreaking comments that really hurt our feelings.
one. And
Guys, let's end off with this.
before we do, thank you for listening to another episode of
Call Him Father.
Josh, play us out.
This sucks a lot. It's not too late to stop, guys.